This is Border Battle with King and CJ. With King.
You want to go get a hot dog at halftime? Well, guess what? You can also take the under in the second half of 25. You know what I mean?
And CJ.
You can win Super Bowls right now with me and Grandpa Brady over here. Let's do it that way.
Presented by the fine students and faculty of the Oklahoma State University School of Media and Strategic Communications in beautiful Paul Miller Building. Broadcast live on KXZY OSU Student Radio. And now, live from Studio 318, it's Border Battle with CJ the Viking Notch and guest host Logan Moser.
Welcome to Studio 318 in the Paul Miller Journalism Building at Oklahoma State University. You're listening to Border Battle with King and CJ. He's CJ. I'm Logan Moser filling in for King today. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. Real quick, for those that are watching, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? I do got to put in that this is a 3-time All-State choir person right here. When you said it, I got to say it. I got to get that out. But
you figured that out like 30 seconds before the show
ago, I was
started.
like, I got to get that in.
That's fair.
But yeah, why don't you give our viewers a little bit kind of who you are?
All right, yeah, I'm a sophomore sports media student here at Oklahoma State University. I do a radio show here on KXZY at 1 to 2 p.m. It's Against the Spread with my co-host Reed Spencer, and yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Nice.
Yeah. You ready to get into some women's hockey?
Let's go for it.
So, a couple nights ago, the U.S. women's hockey team won its first gold since 1998, took down the Canadian women's team in a close game. It was 3-2, right?
Yep.
It was 3-2 in the shootout, and this game made me like hockey. As a guy that grew up in Western Oklahoma, I don't know anything about hockey, but I liked hockey for 15 or 20 minutes after this game was over. That's how good it was.
So I gotta ask them, with watching this, like, was that something that you did via like Twitter? Like, were you more like the Twitter person that's like, oh, I gotta kind of keep watch of like, okay,
yeah.
how's the team doing? Because I know some people too, being obviously it's shown at different times. I know they did a rerun yesterday in the afternoon, but yeah, I know some people too like, yep, I can go to bed now, being I've got my updates or whatever.
Yeah, I was definitely one of those guys. I was just following it on Twitter, and then like after it was over, I had to go on YouTube and watch the whole shootout because apparently that was like the craziest thing, and it was just wire to wire. It was a crazy thing. I read an ESPN article after even, and what surprised me more is that in the overtime, the U.S. team survived a 4-3 advantage for Canada for like the last minute and a half of the game. Like,
yeah, to be able to kill like a power play, because that's obviously like that's what power plays are. They're made to give you an advantage, and to be able to do that and deal with the heartbreak that they had to deal with 4 years ago in Sochi, right. and to go and finally take down Canada that hadn't lost since we beat them in 1998.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting it was interesting to watch how some of these young women that are on this team, some that dealt with it. There's obviously some new faces like Maddie Rooney, who was the goalie.
Mm-hmm.
That was her first time competing in the Olympics. But then you have Lamaru Davidson, who actually hit the game-winning shootout shot, so to speak, which was a fantastic shot to say the least. But I mean, it goes to show how much they took the heart to deal with that and to take all the conflict and stuff that came with it and put it towards now gold medals.
Yeah, I mean, they sat on that loss in Sochi for 4 years. I imagine they're just pissed off every day, training every day. And, I mean, they go in, and they almost have it. They have a 1-0 lead at the end of the first period. They blow that. They're down 2-1 going into the third, and then tie it up. Go into overtime. You survive the overtime. And then in the shootout, you're down. You tie it up. And then, like you said, Lemaru Davidson, that shot that she made to win was something special. Because, I mean, I've never seen anything like it in my 30 minutes of watching hockey.
Right. Well, and I know the team said that as soon as they won, someone actually pulled out a cell phone called Colleen Hacker, who is their mental skills coach, because they say she was like a huge factor in getting everyone on this team to kind of use what happened in Sochi to like their advantage of, you guys have to use that power, as a good thing. Don't mope on it and sit on it in a negative way. You got to use that as a thing of like, okay, we've seen, some of young women, we played Canada just 4 years ago. You guys have seen this, that's the thing too. Canada is not a team that, we don't like, yes, we don't see it. We don't play like the Canada team all the time, but it's the fact of like, okay, we all play that same style, us Northwest, Midwesterners, I should say, more of like Minnesota, Wisconsin. Hockey is life for a lot of people up in that neck of the woods, and Canada's in that same boat.
Right, and I mean, what it must have taken for that. Basically, it's her first Olympics. Rooney, the goalie, she's only 20 years old. At Sochi, she was in high school trying to get her driver's license or something like. Well, but it sounds like she was as invested as the other girls that lost that game, and she wanted the revenge as much as those girls did.
Yeah, which is crazy to think too. Now you're going to come back here from the Olympics, and you're 20 years old, like you said, and you're an Olympic gold medalist. Like,
yeah,
like it's weird to think that we have Olympic medalists that are 18 years old. If not maybe a little younger. It's weird to think of like being it isn't every 4-year thing of like there's some people that are 20 years old. They're gold medal.
Nothing makes my mom more proud than when someone my age wins a gold medal and I can go to the store and get milk,
Right, yeah.
Those are equal accomplishments right there. It makes me feel good about myself.
Right, yeah. And I mean, kudos to, a lot of these athletes, they play hockey. It's all their life, which is good. It's something that they're able to do. It's a nice outlet for them. But yeah, I'm the same way. Even watching, and I don't want to get too off subject, but with professional sports teams, and now I see people that are younger than me, and I'm like, man, like you're 20, early 20s, and you're winning championships already.
Yeah.
Like here I am in school.
Yep. We're gonna do big things of our own though, so
right,
just wait, we'll show them.
You got that right, just in a different realm.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this was kind of the highlight for me for like the Winter Olympics because the U.S. we took a lot of guys and girls, and we're in a lot of events, but we're not exactly dominating like we do in the Summer Olympics and in Winter Olympics past, really. But I mean, this was just a really big win. It really this is one of those like Olympic wins where I just feel proud to be an American because we beat the powerhouse. Like we showed them that America can do it with the best of them and better.
Right? Yeah. That and the fact of I was talking to some other people about this the other day. When you're dealing with, especially the Winter Olympics, let's face it, even up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, we don't have winter 24/7. Like we do have a few months of like summer and no snow. Whereas like Norway, it's some of these countries, they're always dealing with snow or these inside style sports. Basketball, it's always inside. And they're used to skating and all this other stuff. Like that's all they do. So at the same time, is for some is it a letdown? Maybe like I felt the Americans I thought they'd have done a little better personally. Granted, I don't watch Winter Olympics a lot, but I think it's one of those things when you're used to the Summer Olympics and they're always up towards the top, if not the top.
Right.
So it's it's kind of that you take it as it is, but
right. And I mean, I hear like Norway was up at top and someone was talking about why the U.S. wasn't doing so well in like figure skating or something like that. And someone was like, well, people in Norway, whenever it like gets the roads freeze outside, they skate to where they need to go. They don't get
really?
Yeah, like that's how good they are. They just skate all the time because that's how they get around. So I mean, when you really think about it, we're doing pretty good for what we have with the seasons, and I just think that this was like another big win, and Canada is such a hockey powerhouse. It's just an incredible win. I can't get over that.
Yeah, it's Canada and Russia really are the two like premier hockey powerhouses besides you could say the U.S. at the same time. So it's overall it was a good thing. It's great to see the women making history.
Yep. Well, we're gonna catch a break real quick. Whenever we come back, we're gonna talk about the Pokes got another massive win on Wednesday against the top 10 team. But do you think it's too little, too late? We'll tell you next when we're right back on OSU Radio, KXZY. Welcome back to Studio 318 in the Paul Miller Journalism Building here at Oklahoma State University. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ. I'm Logan Moser filling in for King today. He's CJ. You ready to talk some OSU basketball?
Hey, let's do it, man.
Yeah, I mean, OSU last 2 days ago on Wednesday played number 6 Texas Tech, and I mean, it was cold. There weren't a lot of people there. I went to the game. There weren't a lot of people there due to the weather, but somehow the Cowboys pulled off another big upset.
Yeah, which is weird because I know even like King and I have had these discussions too. It's this whole inconsistency, and I mean to win on at home, I guess in a sense, because GIA is where we've been. I hate to say, but at our worst in a sense. We can't find anything consistent. You know, our only other ranked win on our own floor is against OU,
right?
Which I mean, Kansas is still coming into town. There's a chance for that possibly, but yeah, it's I don't know. It's weird. You know, Lindy Waters is now coming into his own. I mean, he had a great 18 points. He's 6 for 6 from the field goals. You know, 4 for 4 3-point.
Yeah, I mean, he shot the ball really well. I mean, like we saw the score earlier, we won 79-71, and there was one point where the crowd was kind of, it wasn't real big, so there wasn't a lot of noise going on. But I think the one thing that turned this whole thing around, they sent out the text, school was canceled. And everyone went crazy. We were down by 5, and everyone just went nuts. And someone was at the free throw line. I think Averett was at the free throw line, and he was like, what's going on? And then after he makes the free throw, everyone's like, class got canceled. And I think as weird as that sounds, I think it picked up their energy a little because what do they have to do tomorrow? So, and everyone else had nothing to do tomorrow. So it was just a crazy atmosphere for however small the crowd was. And, yeah, like you said, Lindy Waters, 18 points. Smith, 21 points on 6 for 13. 8 for 10 free throws, which kudos to him for getting to the line that much. Jeffrey Carroll had 14 points and probably the best dunk I've ever seen in person. We might see that later in these highlights, but I mean, yeah, there was one point in the second half where the Cowboys just came out on fire. I felt like I could have gone out there and hit a 3 for us. Like no one could miss. It was incredible.
So I got to ask you, being you were at the game, was this your first time ever like doing a court storming?
No, I was here for OU, so I was part of that one as well. And the one for OU was a little bit bigger.
Rightfully so, being it's Bedlam and
yeah,
you know, dealing with the weather. You know, I was telling someone I still think the turnout was good. I think for the game, considering what the weather was like,
right?
Because you know, people around here, they're not used to this kind of weather, and you know, and it's icy, and then it gets cold, so then you deal with that. But another interesting thing, even with like Jeffrey Carroll, for instance, 14 points on 9 shots, which is like good. Like to me, like 9 shots was good for him. Yeah, because usually you see he's, you know, 6 for 15, or you know, he's up more in the double digits, a little higher, and you know, but it seems like he's doing better with less.
Right. Yeah. For a while, it was kind of him just being a volume shooter, and he was getting his points, but on more shots. But last night he took a lot of smart shots, which is why you see the 5 for 9, 14 points. And I mean, he kind of like got everyone involved too. Everyone did a really good job of getting everyone involved. We had 13 team assists, which, I mean, lately that's been pretty good for us. And yeah, I mean, the whole team just seemed to be kind of on a roll. And it's like you said, it's kind of the inconsistencies. We see this sometimes against the best kind of competition we can muster, but then against Baylor, we can't do anything.
Yeah, you lay an
against
egg.
these teams that are in the bottom of the Big 12, we can't seem to put together any kind of offense or anything.
And it's like our team, when they're games like we should win or we should be close. It's almost like we either take it easy. It's like the games we should win, we don't, but the games we don't win, we do.
Yeah, I mean, this team definitely plays to their competition for better or for worse. So I'm just gonna go ahead and ask the question: is this a tournament team?
No, I don't think they are. Maybe if they were to win out, you have to beat Kansas at home is
Definitely.
like a big thing for me. If you lose to Iowa State, you don't. Whether you beat Texas and Kansas, I don't know. If you kind of like what you went off of. If you lose to Baylor and and K-State and and TCU, it's where we had a bad non-conference schedule to start off with.
Yeah.
I know some of the guys were saying beforehand, if it's OU or OSU, it's OU just because they have a stronger schedule before the conference play started. But then let me ask you this. I guess actually I'll let you answer that. Do you think the Cowboys are?
If they win out, definitely, and I think they can drop one of those Texas. They probably can't drop Iowa State, but they could drop Texas, and if we beat Kansas, it's definitely a tournament team, especially if we have some kind of run in the Big 12 tournament. Because the way I see it, if we're the 8th seed, we can probably win 2 or 3 games just because we play to our competition. So the better the opponent, the better we are, I feel like.
Right. So then kind of get back on the Texas Tech game. Do you think with Keenan Evans having his injury coming back, do you think that also helped the Cowboys maybe stick this one out?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he was only able to play 25 minutes, and he wasn't able to do anything while he was on the court. 0 for 5 from 3, 1 for 7 from the field altogether for 2 points. And I mean, he just didn't really have a big impact in this game like we're used to seeing him have for that Tech team. But I mean, they don't show that in the stat sheet next to the W, so it doesn't bother me that much.
Right? Yeah, when you're missing 17 points a game from when you're star players, it's it's tough to come by.
It definitely is. It's hard to make up those kind of like that number of points from whatever bench you have. And I mean, what's his name? Nate Stevenson. Yeah, Niam Stevenson had 14 points off the bench for him, so he kind of helped fill that void, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it definitely takes a lot. So I guess let's kind of rotate a little bit now. Let's get to the Cowgirls in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
What I was telling something. I think it's funny. You have the Cowboys that pull off an upset, and then you have the Cowgirls go to Kansas, who they when the last time they played, they won by I think it was just south of 20 points or something like that. And then you go to Kansas and you lose 66-59 to Kansas. Women's team. It's like to me, it's baffling. We're on this weird tailspin because you get blown up by Baylor and Texas on your home court, and then you go to Kansas and you lay a dud.
Right. I mean, it does seem like this women's team's kind of in like a nosedive, and this is definitely not what we were expecting with the beginning of the season when they beat UCLA and teams like that, and they beat Kansas earlier in the year, but now they've kind of seemed to fallen apart. And what do you think is the main issue with this team right now?
I don't know if it's I think they're out of rhythm. I think it's part of it. I think when you I think people don't realize the Baylor Texas that's a tough stretch. You played both those teams in the same week. They're super strong down low. Baylor, I've said this before. Baylor has probably 2 of the best post players in the nation right now. But I don't know if it's a rhythm thing. If it's one of those things now. Lately, it seems like Jensen, Goodwin. It's like if a couple of them are having bad games, it's the team's kind of struggling right now to fill out. Fill everything else out, and maybe is it part of it? Maybe because you rely on like Jaden Hobbs and Braxton Miller, great players nonetheless. But is it something now? The season's getting longer. Face it, if you're a high school player, you don't play this many games. Is that maybe something being their starters? Is that maybe something that's getting to them? I know they didn't start all the time because Ariana Combs was before she got injured. But is it a mental thing? It's one of those things. It's again, you ask yourself those questions, and you maybe won't know for a little while until you can see maybe a good game, and then they come out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, okay, this is that's what they were missing.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's some kind of a fatigue factor. Like no one has fresh legs right now, especially those They're used to playing a high school schedule. Like you said, you don't play this many games in a high school schedule. And, yeah, I feel like a combination of injuries, fatigue, and like you said, that tough stretch of Baylor and Texas, that's a tough thing to overcome. And they're struggling to do that right now. They got to find their rhythm again.
So I know when OSU was playing Kansas, they were ranked 25th. Mm-hmm. Do you think they will drop out because of this loss?
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those losses that, I mean, especially with the streak of losses they've had recently, this is enough to drop you out of the rankings. Because, I mean, they could easily get back in if they pick up where they left off before this tough stretch. But for now, I feel like they're going to drop out.
And I know obviously Jordan and I were talking. There's different tiers, especially in the NCAA for the women's side. With your top 10 is basically in its own tier, and then you go down. Do you think? Obviously, because they're going to make the big dance. I'd be surprised if they didn't make the NCAA tournament, to be honest. But do you feel they'll go far? Or do you think this is one of those things? They'll maybe get a game or two in, and then something's going to come up.
For me, it depends on how they finish the season. Even if they lose, but they seem like they're kind of finding their rhythm again and kind of figuring out what they want to do, then this team can make a good run in the tournament. But if it continues with how it is lately, I mean, you can't fix dead legs, so. Right. I think that if it continues like it is, they're going to be out pretty quick.
Yeah, and I was just actually looking at the stats against Kansas. Like Braxton Miller, for instance, played 38 minutes and was 2 for 10.
That's a lot of minutes.
It's a lot. And then if you're not, if your shots aren't falling, I mean, Jensen and Goodwin both had 18 and 21 respectively, and they shot well, but. It's one of those things. If your playmakers aren't hitting the shots, yes, you always want them to keep shooting, but. If no one else can help, produce buckets, well, you're kind of just along for the ride.
Exactly. Yeah. If your driving force of the team isn't getting what they need to do done, and they're not going to try and make plays for others, it's going to be hard to fill up that tough shooting night from your number one option. And I just feel like they need to get each other involved more. Not ask too much of one player. Get everyone involved, get multiple people in double-digit scoring, and just try to spread the field goal attempts out more evenly.
So let me to ask you more on that, on what you were just saying there. Do you feel then, so like the seniors you're saying should kind of stop, taking control as they are now? Like, are you you think that, Jaden Hobbs and Miller should actually be getting more touches than, Jensen and Goodwin should be taking back some of their touches? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
I kind of feel like you have to see who has the hot hand. At this point in the season, everyone's to some level fatigued, but someone could have a great night, and you gotta just spread it out evenly at the beginning to see who's kind of gonna have that hot hand. And if it's one of the seniors, then go for it. Shoot 80 times if you're gonna shoot 45% or whatever. But I mean, yeah, if you don't have the hot hand, kind of look to get some of the other people involved. And just see if you can make something else out of a tough night.
So then, but let's say if you are a senior, sir, are you willing, per se, to actually give up your shots?
That's a good question.
To be like, oh, you know what, I'm not feeling it. I'm willing to give up my shots. That's the thing. Is a senior, are they willing? That's a thing that a person's got to ask. Are you like Goodwin? Are you willing to give up 3 or 4 of your shots to maybe give Hobbs or Miller a chance? You deal with that. If anything, for a senior, it's a double-edged sword because you want them to take charge, because that's what leadership, seniors, that's what they do. But at the same time, you also want to show that, okay, you know what, I need to let someone else shoot. Like, I'm struggling. Shooters are going to shoot, but you still have to, it's a tug of war.
That is tough to ask someone that's used to taking that many shots to give up some of their shots for someone else. But I feel like if they're about winning, they're more than happy to do that. But if you're about your stats, you kind of want to put those shots up.
Yeah, if you're a stat patter, then you're gonna shoot, and if you think overall for the team, then you're gonna want, okay, let's think for the better of the team. How far can we go? We need to work together to get there.
Right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break. Whenever we come back, we're gonna get you caught up on what we got caught up on this week, including whether the NBA should ditch the East-West format. And we'll be right back to break that down on OSU Student Radio, KXCY.
Hi, I'm Gina Noble, and I'm the mayor of Stillwater, Oklahoma. Stillwater, Oklahoma is anything but still. We are a vibrant community, and we are conveniently located near Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Wichita, Kansas. We're the home of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and we serve as the cultural, economic, and athletic hub for North Central Oklahoma. In fact, several Quality of Life magazines have recognized Stillwater as one of the nation's 100 top places to live and one of the best places to golf. Established in the land run in 1889, Stillwater is a safe, vibrant community. It boasts a great educational system from K through 12, all the way up to our world-class university, Oklahoma State University. We have an exceptional downtown with a strong entrepreneurial spirit, numerous city parks and trails, and our medical resources are second to none. Stillwater is a wonderful place to begin your career, to start a business, to raise a family, or to retire. We invite you to visit Stillwater because we are anything but still.
Think you're not involved in your community? Think again. Spending your money with local businesses is more than an economic choice. It's a way you can have a say in the look and feel of your hometown. This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome back to Studio 318 in the Paul Miller Journalism Building here at Oklahoma State University. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ. He's CJ. I'm Logan Moser. I'm filling in for King today. You ready to do some ticker topics and get the people caught up on stuff you guys missed throughout the week?
Oh, yes.
All right. You want to just dive right into the NBA?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to talk about they're proposing to get rid of the East-West format, get rid of the conferences, just put the top 16 teams into the playoffs, do it that way. Are you a fan of that?
I kind of actually. I actually think it would be interesting to seed teams based on how well they do as a whole. And like, yes, you want to keep the conferences. I understand that. You don't want to toss all that out of the way, but you still, it's like they had mentioned in one of the articles I was reading on ESPN. It's sometimes your two best teams are duking it out either in the Western and Eastern Conference Championship, and then you go and you have a team get blown out or whatever. And so yes, it would help. I know there's some people, some stars in the NBA that aren't fans of it, but I don't know. You got to think of overall of, okay, do you really want to watch a finals where a team maybe gets swept or gets beat 4-1?
Right. I agree with you. I think it'd be great if they got rid of it. And the best way to do it is get rid of the conferences, and you have to change up the schedule. So you keep the divisions as they are. You play every team in your division 3 times a year. So that's 12 games. And then you play everyone else twice. That's 50. So that's 62 regular season games. So all the players that are like, we play too many games, the season's too long, that's all gone. You shave 20 games off the schedule. And then I suggest that you have the top 14 get locked into the playoffs, 1 through 14 based on record. And the last 2 spots, it's like a March Madness tournament.
Like a play-in?
It's a play-in. It's single elimination. That way, like, you call them playoff games so you can get big money. The fans will like it because you can get like Cinderella. If you're a Dallas fan right now and Dallas makes a big run in that play-in tournament, you're gonna be freaking out. You get like the Cinderella story kind of thing.
See, I wouldn't be a fan of that.
Really?
Because if you have your if you're bottom, let's say you're 15, 16, or if there's a decent gap between the other teams, why go through a tournament? Because at the same time, like you said, you could have a Cinderella story like the Mavericks or whoever get in, but let's say they get in and then they just get throttled. And, like, and, at the same time,
isn't that what happens in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, but that's the NCAA. Like, this is now you're talking the NBA, and that's, I don't know. To me, I'd be like, if you are that top, top 16. I mean, I get the whole fact of, if you're 15, 16, you have to, bulldoze your way through this, NCAA style tournament to still redeem that spot.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it, I guess, but.
I mean, to me, it's basically the same thing because the 15, 16 seed's going to get throttled anyway. Like, there's hardly any, like, if whatever team has to play the Warriors or the Rockets in the playoffs, you're probably not going to win a game first round.
Yeah, per se, in the Western Conference, the best matchup is going to be the 4 and the 5.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think about it.
Yeah, but, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you could just add basically like a little mini gap. You give players time to rest between the actual playoffs and the end of the regular season, and the NBA makes a lot of money on playoff games.
What I do find funny, though, is like LeBron James now hates it.
Does not like this format.
Yeah, quoted saying, it's cool to mess around with the All-Star game, but let's, we proved you can do that, but let's not get too crazy about the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, okay, if you're Adam Silver, do you take what LeBron just said there into account? Like, do you think, okay, yes, that's, it's a good, I didn't think about that. What do you...
LeBron only said that because he knows the East-West format is the only way he can get to 8 straight finals. If they get rid of that he is not going to make as many finals as he's made so far. So this is like, I think it's a great idea for the NBA to do this. Obviously, LeBron doesn't like it because it's going to affect his legacy. He doesn't get to as many finals. He probably won't. If this is the format for his whole career, he probably doesn't make half of those finals.
Really? So you think if this was the format they would go or had gone to before he came in, you don't think he would have made it like when he was with Bosch and Wade? You don't think he would have still somehow made his way to the finals?
No, because I feel like they would have met some of those Western Conference teams, like our Thunder team a couple times, the Memphis Grizzlies. Those were really good playoff teams back in the day. They would have met the Spurs in the finals still probably most of the time. But I mean, there's a lot of teams in the West that were bad matchups for those Heat teams that I think would have stopped a bit of that. Not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6.
Yeah, maybe. But you can also look when the Thunder did play the Heat in the finals, they got their they got wiped out.
I'm not talking about that team. That we got destroyed in that. But I mean, in the years after that, if we don't have to match up with Houston and Westbrook doesn't tear his ACL or MCL the year after, that's a really good team, and I think that team could have beat that Miami Heat team. So I mean, we can never know. We can only say what if.
Right.
But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. We would have beat the Heat.
Yeah.
I mean, I like this idea. I think they should do it. I think it's more exciting. I think it finally gives the NBA that parity that everyone says is not in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 1 or 2 good teams, but if you have the playoff structured like this, there's a lot of different matchups that could happen, and you never know.
Right.
So next up, we're going to talk about some Kirk Cousins, some good old football.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Good
Both of our teams. You like the Vikings.
Yep.
I like the Denver Broncos. Both of our teams are going to need a quarterback.
Okay, so out of those two, and it's probably maybe a biased thing to ask, but who would have the better shot, do you think, of landing Kirk Cousins out of the two, just Vikings and Broncos?
I'm not too familiar with the Vikings cap space situation, but I know Denver doesn't have a lot. We'd have to move some pieces around if we want to be able to pay him big money, or we'd have to get someone to restructure some deals or something like that. But I mean, I feel like Denver has more pieces, and that's obviously my biased answer.
Yeah,
but I feel like Denver would be a better fit and have a better chance of landing him.
See, and now it's just a biased thing, but
yeah.
See, like the Vikings do have more cap space than I think they have like 49 mil, and I know like the Broncos have like 28 or something like that.
Yeah.
To me though, if I'm Kirk, I still think maybe the Broncos have a good defense. Don't get me wrong. I think the thing is though they are a little older. You have like Talib and some of those guys that are a little older than the Vikings. Because to me, really, the Vikings, their missing piece is a quarterback, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think the Broncos is too. But at the same time, do the Broncos really have a running game right now? Maybe. I don't know a whole lot about the running game, I guess.
Yeah, there's not a lot of any kind of game on offense. So.
But what is interesting, I'm gonna get your take. So the Jets talked about giving in their first year guaranteeing the 60 million and giving it like right away. Do you think that's that'd be a good decision, or do you think this is more of a gutsy thing, just doing whatever they can to maybe stand out?
I think this is just a big like show of here's what we can do. This is how much we can pay you. But I don't know if it's really like that great for Kirk Cousins, because obviously you get a lot of money, but he's gotten a lot of money in the past couple of years being franchise tagged. But the reason they give for giving him 60 mil right off the bat is so they can build around him later. Like the back half of the contract is pretty light, and they would just be able to build around him with all the cap space. But if I'm Kirk Cousins, I want to go where I can win. And I think Minnesota and Denver are two of the best places he could go to win right now, because obviously he has a lot of weapons. If he goes to Minnesota, he has Adam Thielen,
Stephon Diggs,
and Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah,
I mean, there's plenty to do over there. But I mean, I don't buy the Jets thing at all. It's been a story for a long time, but I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I will say this: the Jaguars would also be a really good team, because the Jaguars really are a good quarterback away too,
right?
From getting to the promised land, so to speak. But yeah, I don't know. I think the hardest thing for the Jets is you have nothing else to show. Like, oh, here, we can give you all this money, but we probably aren't going to be able to win, for a little while, because then, the Jets GM stuff, he's going to have to do some great selling on his team to somehow get these other, players in the next few years. But like you said, Cousins wants to win. He's going to be 30, if not, he already is.
I think he's going to be 30.
It's, he's just at that age where, you deal with the whole turmoil in Washington, and you're like, okay, let's get moving.
I'm kind of upset you just said that Blake Bortles wasn't an elite quarterback. I mean,
he is?
That guy has never lost an Olympic event in winter or summer.
Blake Bortles.
I'm just kidding. There's a Twitter page called Blake Bortles Facts for anyone that wants a good laugh.
Yeah.
There's lots of true facts, but I mean, they're ridiculous. Like, he hasn't ever lost an Olympic event, and for the longest time he had never lost a playoff game, and
and now he has.
I think Blake Bortles is just a good joke. They do need a better quarterback. Like, he's fine for what they do, but they obviously can't win the whole thing with him. But yeah. Next up, we're gonna jumping right back into basketball. Kawhi Leonard and San Antonio seem to be butting heads. Kawhi Leonard has apparently been cleared to play for a while, but he's just choosing to sit out. Why?
I don't know. Like, and I know you touched on this. I know you love Kawhi. I think he's a little overrated personally, and I know you don't like to hear that. But is he a good defensive player? Yes, and he's good with offense. But I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if he got the Tim Duncan in the big three with the Spurs early, which was good. But sometimes you wonder if now the team, like the way it's going, I don't know if I don't want to say it's a full on attitude thing, but to sit out, what's really going on is like there's got to be something bigger than this injury that's hampering you. Was there something that was said that you didn't like? Because for him to just like, oh, I get he gets the final say if he's going to play or not because he's cleared to play, and then you're not, like, what are you trying to do? Like, to me, if anything, it shows more of a negative outcome, because you're like, no, I'm going to hold out. Like, so are you not fully healthy, or are you like what? There's a little bit of the unknowns.
Right. Well, first, Kawhi Leonard is not just a good defensive player. He's the best defensive player in the league. And he's not just good on offense. He's the only guy on that team that can get his own shot. Sorry. You
don't think LaMarcus Aldridge can get his own shot?
I mean, he can post up on the block and shoot a turnaround jumper or a fadeaway, but like he can't like dribble around, and he can't dribble, pass, and shoot. He can shoot.
Okay.
I mean,
fair enough.
He has to have someone get him the ball. If you understand.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But Kawhi Leonard can just take someone off the dribble and get his own shot. But I agree. There's a lot of unknowns. Like, apparently, a lot of this tension started, from what I've read, when Kawhi Leonard's uncle took over like the business side of stuff for Kawhi, and that's kind of caused some issues with the Spurs. Like, I don't know. I feel like if anyone could fix the relationship, it's definitely Greg Popovich, because he does crazy stuff with people. But I mean, he went to New York to get a second opinion, but he's still sitting out. I'm wondering if there's something more that, like you said, that we just don't know about. Someone had to say something.
I don't know though if Popovich is even the answer. Like you said, we don't know what happens behind closed doors. But he was like, well, he's cleared to play, so when he can play, he can play. But it's like, well, okay, which is a typical Greg Popovich, thing to say. But I don't know. I think he's turning into I don't know if it's an ego issue or what. But I think Kawhi, like, yes, is he a good player? Yeah. Is he great? I don't think so, but and
I think we just have to disagree on that.
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, he won his he won the NBA Finals. Probably his only one he'll ever win. But unless he maybe he'll join a super team. Maybe he'll be the next athlete that does that. I don't know.
I think if Kawhi Leonard leaves San Antonio, that is the next super team. But we're gonna have to take a break real quick. Whenever we get back, we're gonna talk about a Sports Illustrated article that unveils a lot of the, let's just say, the dark parts of the Dallas Mavericks organization. We'll try to make sense of all that whenever we come back. This is Border Battle on KXZY.
What is arts and sciences?
We aren't all about the arts.
We like to think of ourselves as explorers.
From exploring the human mind
to discerning the building blocks of the universe.
We don't just read books.
We don't just sit in the classroom.
And we don't just solve problems.
We seek to give everyone a voice.
In a variety of approaches.
We tackle the big issues.
By understanding complex social structures.
And even understand the small ones.
We take passions to new heights.
But stay grounded.
We tell stories.
Of the past.
Of the present.
And work to predict the future.
We like to think with a little preparation. Some dirt under the fingernails.
And some self-analysis. You can do anything.
With nearly 100 degree plans to choose from.
Where will your arts and science degree take you?
Connect, achieve, succeed.
To our neighbors and friends, we come to you today to let you know what's on our hearts. Because you're the reason what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow and the power of community. So this is simply thank you. As we step boldly into a time of growth and change, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome back to Border Battle here on KXZY, Studio 318 in the Paul Miller Journalism Building. I'm here with CJ. I'm Logan Moser. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. We're already in the fourth segment. It's going fast today.
Time's flown by. It's been a great show. We're gonna jump into something a little bit more serious though for the final topic today. There was a Sports Illustrated article that came out about the Dallas Mavericks and all of their front office issues. The team president was doing some committing a lot of sexual harassment issues, and the HR department wasn't reporting it, wasn't doing anything about it. They had a beat writer that had a couple of issues. You want to just jump right in?
Yeah, I don't know. This whole, really it all, yes, it's disgusting. It really is. But my biggest concern is this whole Mark Cuban thing of yes, he's come out, especially with keeping these employees, keeping them on staff. He came out about that. He took the sword, so to speak, and was like, yes, I'll take the brunt of it. I kept them on, but then for him to be like, oh, I kept them because I didn't want it to happen somewhere else. But it's yeah, but
that's not good.
Yeah, that's
not a good excuse
a reason.
Or an answer.
Yeah, that's not what we want to hear. Yes, you screwed up. It's great that he came clean. He's like, look, I did it. I messed up. Yeah. I understand that. But, to just say oh, I just didn't want them to go to a different team, do it. It's but they probably wouldn't have gotten, if this had came out right away, they
wouldn't have gotten another job.
He wouldn't have done anything else anyways.
Yeah.
To deal with that. So part of it, and then this whole he didn't know about these allegations.
Yeah.
Like, okay, come on. You're one of the most,
involved
owners in all of the sports realm. And you say, oh, I'm not a whole lot. They send me finance reports and that, and I let business do the thing. Come on.
I defer.
Yeah, it's like you don't be in charge of most of your team, but leave a little portion of it out. Because then, if anything, you're like, I know you guys like. What is that showing if you're the most involved owner?
Right.
So I don't know. And again, I'm not saying I'm not proving or saying that he is. I'm not saying he is at fault. Whatever. Like I want to get that out. It's my opinions here, but I don't know. It's frustrating. I'm glad people are able to come out now and say all this stuff, like this whole Me Too movement. Like, I'm glad people are coming out and saying this. I know Rick Carlisle said too that his daughter's 13 years old, and he tells her that too. Like, be brave, say, speak out. Like, it's what we need, but it's disheartening to when you hear about all this stuff, because that's why. When you see, women and stuff, I think it's hard for them to join these fields because you get all this stuff come up.
Stories
and
like this come out, and
no one wants to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's totally toxic, and it's a bad environment. Like an environment like this is bad for any woman to be in. The team president, Usuri, he was the president from, I want to say like 96 to like 2015 or something like that. He was the president of
18 years.
Yeah,
I know is what
he was with the Dallas Mavericks for a long time doing these terrible, terrible things. And they even investigated him in 1998, but he kept his job probably because he kept the team afloat with finances and stuff like that. But that wasn't when Mark Cuban Mark Cuban didn't own the team at that point. So I understand that he might not have known about that investigation, but I still don't believe that he didn't know any of this was going on.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, he only bought into the team, I think in the 2000,
or
I think, 2001. But even like this whole human resource stuff that's going on, and then they're the Mavs beat writer and stuff. And, but to me, I think what's hard too is, you look at like Dirk Nowitzki, he was basically there from when, this guy first came in, and then, now he's out and Dirk's still there.
Yeah. Dirk played for this franchise for forever. And according to the article, none of the players were ever a problem. Ursary and HR and people like that it was all the office. There was a quote, I believe it was like, I felt at ease when I was with players. My tensions went high whenever I went back to my desk, whenever I was in the office. And, you get players like this, like Dirk's reaction to this. He had a quote, and it was, he was just like, it's right there up on the screen. It's very disappointing. It's heartbreaking. I'm glad it's all coming out. I was very disgusted when I read the article, obviously, as everybody was. I was shocked about some of the stuff. Like, it's incredible that, like, a guy like, there's guys that come in and out of that locker room all the time. Dirk is basically the only constant, but you never have a problem with any player. It's all in the office.
Right, which makes me think, the players were definitely maybe a safe haven, to say, like, I Dirk, I think Dirk's a phenomenal player.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I don't know him personally, but, I'm sure it'd be disappointing to, be that veteran that's there, and then you find out all the stuff's going on right underneath you, so to speak, and, and how do you, how do you take that? If anything, maybe are the Mavs lucky maybe that, it's later on, because if I was Dirk, I'd maybe want to
leave.
Leave town if I was in my prime or something. Like, who wants, at the same point, who wants to be a part of it? I know it, it didn't fall on any of the players or anything that we know of. But
it's still attached to the Dallas Mavericks. And when you think of the Dallas Mavericks, you think of Dirk. And now recently you're thinking about this. And I mean, it's just, I would understand Dirk wanting to leave, but because Dirk has so much pride for this organization. He loves Dallas. It's been his home in America since he came to America. He was drafted by Dallas. Well, actually, he was drafted by Milwaukee and traded to Dallas on draft night. But he spent his whole career there. He's got a lot of love for. I bet he had a great relationship with a lot of the people in this article, because he had to deal with them, whether it was the team president or maybe the beat reporter was asking him questions after practice one day, and he knew these people. And then all this stuff comes out about it. So.
Right, yeah, well, like you said, which is weird because, you maybe interact with them all the time. Like the Mavs beat reporter, you maybe interacted with them all the time. And then also you hear this stuff and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like this happened. So let me ask you this. Do you think Mark Mark Cuban's job is maybe going to be in jeopardy now because of all this? Do you think it's going to be one of those things of kind of like what they did with the Clippers of, with the whole racist remarks that I forget what
Donald Sterling.
Yeah, with that, is this something that maybe now is going to come to Cuban? I know they're a little different topics, so to speak, but is that something that maybe people are going to be like, hey, Cuban, I'm sorry, I know you didn't specifically do this yourself, but you knew.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a big backlash from a lot of people. People are going to want him to sell the team, but I don't see Mark Cuban selling this, only for the fact that he didn't right now. As of right now, he has not done any of these things. And so I feel like the league doesn't really have a place to come in and take away his team like they did with Donald Sterling, because Donald Sterling said those things. Mark Cuban, as of right now, has not done anything like this. He's just, at the least, been negligible. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised for some like internal backlash and external backlash from around the league, but I don't see him like having to sell the team or anything like that.
So does your outlook on Mark Cuban as a person has that changed for you now with all the stuff that's going on? Has that changed, or is it still do you still, and I don't know if you were ever a fan of him, I guess, or not, but let's say if you were, like, does your mindset now change?
I mean, I always thought Mark was a little bit of a loudmouth owner. He kind of spoke whenever about anything at all, and even if no one cared. So, I mean, for how much he said he was involved in all this, it really surprises me that he knew nothing about any of it. So, I mean, it kind of changed in the fact that, like, I feel like he's kind of okay to turning a blind eye as long as the money's coming in and stuff like that. And I mean, some of the stuff, like, you can't even say you didn't know, because the Mavs beat reporter got arrested at a Mavericks facility. At the team facility, he was taken to jail, and he was allowed to keep his job. And then he dated a female employee that also worked for the Mavericks, and he did the same thing to her. He physically abused her, and he was still allowed to keep his job. The dude was not allowed to travel to Canada to report the team because of his convictions, but he still had his job. Like, I can't believe Mark Cuban didn't know anything about that.
Yeah, well, and I think it was part of the Mavs thing when I was reading the SI article as well. I believe that when at least their organization, I believe they even had to say they were in a relationship. I think they had to make it known.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not for sure.
They did have to make it
okay.
known.
Yeah, so like you said, how would you like to say not? But I will say this: I think what fans and and people like about Cuban is the fact that he is outspoken. He's an owner that like you see all the time. You know what he's doing, and sometimes does he say things that you just shake your head at? Yeah, like the whole tanking stuff, which I don't want to really get into because that's not the point. But it's it's that kind of stuff that I don't know. You wonder, like, okay, as as an owner, yes, you're bringing in the money, like you said. Maybe that's why the first time the GM had had that issues or whatever, that they kind of left because he brought in he raised like the amount of money that the revenue that he was bringing in for the Mavs. Cuban's like dollar signs, which
exactly. But I mean, we saw after the team president who brought in a lot of money, after he left and went to work for Under Armour, apparently similar instance happened at Under Armour, and he was immediately fired. He lasted like 2 months at Under Armour.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a job now.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone except for the Mavericks seemed to cut ties with him after some sort of incident like this. So
right, and then it almost makes you wonder too, like with Under Armour, was it the exact same thing? Was it not? Because like you said, if it was the exact same stuff, like Under Armour, it's just like Mavericks. What do you guys like?
There has to be some like big conspiracy to keep it away from Mark Cuban. If that's the case, if he really didn't know, there have to be a lot of people involved. But I can't get behind that idea.
Right, and for some of these human resource people, when they had their employees come to them and be like, or coworkers, however you want to look at it, come to them and be like, hey, this is happening. And for some of them to be like, deal with it, like, or you're gonna get fired type of stuff. It's like, where's this safe haven anymore? Because obviously people are gonna leave because no one wants to come to work. Which also, if you're Mark Cuban, if you're losing people all the time, don't you think you would wonder, like, okay, why are we losing these people?
Yeah, why do we have such a high turnover? Yeah, you think you'd look into that, and I can't get behind that the HR people just told him nothing. Like, they were just like, everything's fine. No, everyone just wants to work somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, they got a better offer.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a lot to take in about an organization. Like, from the outside, the Mavericks kind of look like just like a fun organization because, you know, you have Mark Cuban doing crazy stuff all the time, and Dirk's always on social media doing funny stuff, just being a goofy Dirk white guy that he is.
Being Dirk, yeah.
But I mean, and then you see like what it's like in the office where most like regular people like you, me, my sister would work if she wanted to be in sports, like places like that are so dangerous and toxic for women. It's kind of disheartening, and it really like makes you kind of want to open your eye and like look more at sports in general to see if there's more incidents like this that we just haven't heard about yet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to touch on, because the NCAA now is dealing with their stuff. And, you know, now, like you said, now the NBA, this is their second altercation. You know, yes, again, the Sterling thing, it was a little different, you know, topic, so to speak, but it's that same thing of like, what is really going on behind these closed doors of some of these, you know, organizations? Is there stuff that's going on that obviously it shouldn't be? And, you know, and then it's also disheartening to see this stuff, you know, even in this day and age, because we're trying to get over that hump of, you know, like women are equal to men in all workforces and all that. And then you have this happen, you know, it's like, it's the sports where we're making progress, and then something like this comes up, and then it puts us back down a few steps.
We take one step forward and then 2 or 3 steps back. I mean, I feel like this is going to shine a big light on a lot of others. There's going to be more stuff about this situation that comes out, and I think we're just kind of going to see the beginning. We have plenty of stories from the survivors of the abuse from what happened in that organization, but as of right now, Mark Cuban's come out and said he's starting like a hotline that goes past HR. Apparently, he fired all of the HR people, and he fired the beat reporter, and apparently they're trying to start a new direction to go like to make it more safe. So we'll see how good that actually works out.
Which you have to, because you got to do something.
Yeah. You got anything else to add? Any last comments?
Oh, just hopefully things change soon.
Yep, I totally agree. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. On Monday, CJ will be gone, but King will be joined by Reed Spencer, my co-host of Against the Spread. Have a great weekend. Join us on Monday for another great sports recap over the weekend.